Years ago, when I used to run calls for a Bethesda rescue squad, Bethesda Chevy Chase rescue squad, I took a class on being an EMT. They taught you back then how to do CPR. It was kind of gross back then because we had to kind of mouth to mouth this plastic dummy that thousands of others had also mouth to mouth. But during the experience of all of that, we would learn to have chest compressions and how many breaths we would count. We'd find the sternum and go a little further up and put our palms there. I think some of that's changed these days. But sometimes in later life, when I was in the seminary, I'd always think about that breath. We would try to bring life back to a person who was no longer breathing. The Holy Spirit comes into the upper room and breathes on the disciples. It says, receive the Holy Spirit. It's almost as if they had lost breath after the death of Christ. In my experience as a priest, I often see people sort of lose their breath. They lose their breath a lot of ways. They lose their breath in some relationships that become broken. They lose their breath when someone close to them dies. It's almost like a punch in the gut, you maybe heard. Half of my heart has been taken away, maybe all of my heart. And so they struggle with getting back that life breath and beginning to live again. And another way is through serious mortal sin. I remember one time I was in the seminary and they talked about a person in mortal sin has lost their breath. This weekend, the gospel talks about a person receiving the breath of God, the breath of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's often envisioned as a dove, as fire, but also as wind. And the concept of the wind is the breath, the pneuma, to renew the spirit, to strengthen the spirit, and to enable that person to live again, to breathe again. This week, as we experience the grace of the Holy Spirit during Pentecost, I just want to kind of encourage you to call on the Holy Spirit. To call on the Holy Spirit in such a manner that you experience the new breath, the new life. Yes, it's true in some of your decision making. What should I do? Come, Holy Spirit. But also when you feel a little oppressed or discouraged or down, I encourage you to invite the Holy Spirit, and so that you can experience the new life, the new breath of Jesus Christ that He gives to all of us. And quite candidly, we're already familiar with it. We know that breath because we have been baptized in the grace of the Holy Spirit, the power of God, the Trinity. So let us go forth this week and experience such a beautiful blessing. Let us have the new breath. And remember, it's something very interesting. You can't give that new breath to somebody unless you yourself are breathing. So remember, you will meet somebody who themselves have lost breath. You can breathe life into them by speaking to them of the Holy Spirit and the power of the Holy Spirit in your life. Remember, this is more than a sermon, it's more than a thought. This is the reality of Jesus Christ. God bless you.